Hello everyone, this is Asra Sultana, Assistant Professor in Triple Department, ISL Engineering College. I am taking the subject Power System Operation and Control for Triple Final Year students. So we are continuing with the topic Load Flow Studies. So load flow solution is a solution of network under steady state condition subject to certain inequality constants. So these constants can be active power, reactive power, magnitude of voltage and the phase angle. Load flow solution will give the nodal voltages and the phase angle and hence the power injection at all the buses and power flow through the transmission lines. So why we are to study this load flow analysis? Because load flow solution is essential for designing a new power system and for planning a extension of the existing one to meet the increased load demand. These analysis will require calculation of load flows under both normal and abnormal operating conditions. Load flow solution for power network can be worked out both ways, that is under balanced or unbalanced conditions. Load flow solution of power system requires the two steps, that is formulation of network equations and suitable mathematical technique for the solution of the equations. Formulation of network equations can be done by using we have found out the Y-bus matrix. Last class we have seen for a N-bus system we have found out the Y-bus matrix by nodal admittance matrix. Okay. Then suitable mathematical technique means what? Here we can use Gauss method, Gauss-Seidel method, Newton-Raphson method, decoupled, fast decoupled methods to find out the solution of the equations. So since we are studying the system under steady state conditions, the network equations will be in the form of simple algebraic equations. The load and the generation are continually changing in a real-time power system, but we are assuming that loads and the generation are the fixed at a particular value over a suitable period of time. So load flow solution is a solution of network under steady state conditions subject to inequality constants. Already we have seen those. What are those inequality constants? Active and reactive power, a magnitude of voltage and the angle. Now, accordingly, the buses can be classified into three types, that is load bus, generator bus and slack bus. So, in a power system, each bus or node will be associated with four quantities, real, reactive power, bus voltage, magnitude and phase angle. So, two out of four quantities will be specified and remaining two we have to find out using the solution of the equations. So, depending upon which quantities are specified, these buses are classified as load, generator and slack. Already we have seen it in the previous class. So, in load bus, quantities specified are P and Q and quantities to be obtained are V and delta. Generator bus, quantities specified are P and V and quantities to be obtained will be Q and delta. Slack bus, quantities specified is V and delta, quantities obtained will be P and Q. Then we have seen one equation, that is Vi angle delta I is equal to Ei plus J Fi. Ei and Fi are the real and reactive components of voltage at ith bus. Then we have seen a nodal admittance matrix for a 3-bus system and we have developed the equation for IP. IP is equal to summation Q is equal to 1 to 3 YPQ VQ, P is equal to 1 to 3, where P is nothing but number of buses. So for a 3-bus system, we are writing that summation as Q is equal to 1 to 3. If it is for N-bus system, IP value we got as IP is equal to summation Q is equal to 1 to N, YPQ VQ and P is equal to 1, 2, 3 and so on till N values. Then for a 5-bus system, we have seen that the value of the nodal admittance matrix, in that what we have seen, the number of zeros were more. So out of 25 elements we have seen 17 are non-zero whereas 8 were zero elements. So computer memory required for storing this kind of nodal admittance matrix is very low. It will need to store only a non-zero elements. It need not store the zeros of the matrix. So computer memory required for storing computer memory requirement for storing nodal admittance will be reduced. If the connection between the various nodes for a given system and the admittance value for each interconnecting circuit are known, then admittance matrix can be assembled as in the following way. That is, the diagonal element of each node will be sum of admittances connected to it, and off diagonal element will be the negated admittance between the nodes. But sum of the elements in each column of the admittance matrix summates to 0. That is, it is a singular matrix. Singular matrix means what? The determinant of the matrix is equal to 0. So rows of the matrix are linearly dependent. Based on admittance matrix approach, it can be said mathematical that one of the buses should be taken as slack bus or reference bus. Otherwise, nodal matrix will be singular and cannot be handled. By taking one of the buses as reference bus, corresponding row and column will be deleted from the nodal admittance matrix, and hence the reduced matrix will become non-singular, which we can handle very easily. So that is why always you have to take one of the buses as the slack bus or the reference bus. Shunt branches. So shunt admittances are added to the diagonal elements corresponding to the nodes at which they are connected. Off diagonal elements are unaffected here. Addition of shunt element in this way may either strengthen or weaken the Y matrix diagonal depending on whether the elements are adding or subtracting the diagonal terms. Now, shunt inductances will strengthen the diagonal while the shunt capacitance will weaken it. So with this also singularity of the admittance matrix can be avoided. Tapped transformers. So tapped transformers operating at off nominal tap positions will provide means of exchanging the reactive power between two networks operating at different voltages, and also these tap transformers will be providing the means of exchanging reactive power between generators and the network system to which they are connected. So it is required to reflect this into power balance equations. So let us see the elementary transformer connection, where we can see Vs is the sending end voltage, Is is the sending end current, Ir is the receiving end current, Vr is the receiving end voltage, and Z is the transformer impedance. T is the per unit of nominal tap position, either positive or negative, and the sending end of the equivalent circuit corresponds to the node to which the transformer is connected. Here the turns ratio is 1 plus T is to 1. So from the equivalent circuit equation, from the equivalent circuit by applying KVL, what we are getting, Vs is equal to 1 plus T into E, and Vr is equal to E minus IRZ. So from this equation, IRZ is equal to E minus Vr, where Z is the per unit impedance of the transformer. And if you eliminate E value, what we can write here, IR is 1 by Z, IR is equal to Z, if I bring the right hand side, IR is equal to 1 by Z, E minus VR. What is the value of E? E will be equal to, from this equation, Vs divided by 1 plus T. So E is Vs by 1 plus T, and IR will be equal to 1 by Z into 1 plus T by Vs minus VR. So Vs by 1 plus T minus VR into 1 by Z, or IR is equal to 1 by Z, Vs minus VR by 1 plus T minus TVR by 1 plus T. Similarly, Is value, how I am writing here, for a transformer, I1 by I2 is equal to N2 by N1, or Is by IR is equal to 1 by 1 plus T. So Is by IR is 1 by 1 plus T, or I can write Is is equal to IR by 1 plus T. So I am writing here, IR value I got this much, so this divided by 1 plus T will be my Is. So Is is equal to 1 by Z, Vs minus VR by 1 plus T minus TVS by 1 plus T whole square. So equations for IR and Is have been rearranged to suit the equivalent circuit. So we are drawing an equivalent circuit with the help of these IR and Is equations. Here I can write 1 plus T into Z, here by minus of 1 plus T whole square by T into Z, and here 1 plus T by T into Z. So this is the equivalent circuit of a transformer for nodal admittance matrix. Equivalent circuit can be used to include the presence of tap changing transformer while formulating the nodal admittance matrix. So why we are finding out this equivalent circuit? To include this while formulating the nodal admittance matrix. The shunt admittances of the equivalent circuit are added to the Y matrix diagonal elements at the two nodes, and the negated series admittance is the off diagonal element corresponding to the transformer interconnection. If the transformer connection is included in a transmission circuit like this, so what I am doing here, I am including here line impedance in series with the Z impedance. So same diagram here, that is Vs, Is, 1 plus T is to 1, and along with Z I am putting here Z1 in series with it, then IR is the receiving end current, VR is the receiving end voltage. So if the transformer connection is included in a transmission circuit, the equivalent circuit representation will be holding good, except that branch impedances is the sum of, so whatever equation we got above, that is IR and IS values, they are holding good, but only the difference is that branch impedance is the sum of transformer impedance and the circuit impedance. So what is that meaning? That means that here along with Z we are adding Z1, otherwise the remaining part will be same. Okay, so this sentence means that if the transformer connection is included in a transmission circuit as shown like this, that is along with Z if we are putting Z1, then to this IR and IS equations which we have found out, IR and IS equations, we are adding the admittance value here plus Z1. So sum of transformer impedance and circuit impedance we are writing here in the denominator. That is IR is equal to now 1 by Z plus Z1 into Vs minus VR by 1 plus T minus TVR by 1 plus T, whereas Is is equal to 1 by Z plus Z1 into Vs minus VR by 1 plus T minus TVS by 1 plus T whole square. If the transformer connection is between P and Q, so here we are assuming in this circuit diagram, here I am writing here between P and Q I am taking the transformer connection. So for this we are drawing the equivalent circuit. So previously wherever Z was there, we can write this as 1 by Y. So YPQ by 1 plus T here, and here it will be minus T by 1 plus T whole square YPQ, and here it will be T by 1 plus T YPQ. So with this we are able to take into account the shunt branches and the effect of tap changing under load transformers on the power flow in the interconnected network. So once these components are included in the nodal admittance matrix, we need not bother about them as their presence will be taken care of by the admittance matrix. So next class we will see the development of load flow equations, the various iterative methods like Gauss method and Gauss-Seidel method, the flow chart for load flow solution using Gauss method, and their equations, flow chart for Gauss-Seidel method also we are going to see, and numerical also based on that, various factors like acceleration factor, what is acceleration factor we are going to see, and how to find out the voltage at the end of iteration. So first iteration, second iteration, it will be asked in the problem. So at the end of first iteration, find out using so and so method, Gauss-Seidel or NR method. So we have to formulate the Y-bus matrix. Then we have to find out the iteration counts. Okay. So let us just have a quick revision of what we have studied. So we are studying here load flow studies, and load flow studies is giving us the solution of power system network and the solution of the power system will require the following step, that is formulation of network equation and suitable mathematical technique for the solution of the equations. So we have seen that these equations are simple algebraic equations, and real-time system, the load and the generation are continuously changing, but we are assuming here that loads and the generation are fixed at a particular value over a suitable period of time. So example, it can be some 1 hour or half an hour or 2 hours and so on. And then load flow solution, we have seen load flow solution is a solution of the network under steady state conditions subject to certain inequality constants under which the system operates. Then we have seen the classification of buses. So in a power system, each bus or node is associated with 4 quantities: real and reactive power, bus voltage, magnitude and its phase angle. So 2 out of the 4 quantities will be specified, and remaining 2 we have to obtain through the solution of the equations. And depending upon which quantities are specified, the buses are classified into 2 types, that is load bus, generator bus and slack bus. Then we have seen about the nodal admittance matrix. Nodal admittance matrix, what we have seen for a 3-bus system, we have found out the IP value. So IP value was summation q is equal to 1 to 3 ypq vq, p is equal to 1 to 3. And for an n-bus system, IP equation we got as summation q is equal to 1 to n, ypq vq, p is equal to 1 to 3, and so on n. Then for a 5-bus system, we have found out the nodal admittance matrix, and we have seen that out of 25 elements, 8 elements are 0, whereas 17 are non-zero. In a large system of 100 nodes, these non-zero elements can be as small as 2% of the total elements. So here we are seeing that computer memory requirement for storing the nodal admittance matrix is very low. It will need to store only few non-zero elements. It did not store the zeros of the matrix. So a nodal admittance matrix being a symmetric matrix along the leading diagonal, the computer will need store only the upper triangular nodal admittance matrix only. So computer memory requirement for storing this nodal admittance is all the more reduced. If the interconnection between the various nodes for a given system and admittance value for each interconnecting circuit are known, admittance matrix will be assembled as diagonal element of the each node will be sum of admittances connected to it, and off diagonal element will be negated admittance between the nodes. But what we are seeing is that it is a singular matrix. So to avoid that, what we are doing here, we are taking into consideration a reference bus or slack bus. So by taking one of the bus as reference, so corresponding row and column will be deleted from the nodal admittance matrix, and the reduced matrix will become non-singular, which can be handled very easily. Then shunt branches, we have seen shunt inductances will strengthen the diagonal, while the shunt capacitances will weaken it. So with this also singularity of the admittance matrix can be avoided. Then we have seen about the tapped transformers. Tap transformers operating at off nominal tap position will provide means of exchanging reactive power between networks, two networks operating at different voltages, and also tap transformer will provide a means of exchanging reactive power between generators and the network system to which they are connected. So here we have shown an elementary transformer connection where Vs is the sending end voltage, Is is the sending end current, VR is the receiving end voltage, IR is the receiving end current, and the tappings are in the ratio 1 plus T is to 1. Z is the transformer impedance, T is the off nominal tap position. We have found out the equation for Vs, VR. Vs is 1 plus T into E, VR is E minus IRZ, and from this we are finding out the values of IR and IS, receiving end current and sending end current. Then these two currents IR and IS are rearranged so as to suit the equivalent circuit like this. Okay, we have obtained the equivalent circuit of transformer for nodal admittance matrix. Then after including a Z1 impedance in series with Z, we have found out the IR and IS values, and then we have formulated a equivalent circuit for the nodal admittance matrix. Okay students, thank you everyone for watching the video. Next class we are going to see the various iterative methods like Gauss-Seidel and Gauss method. Okay, thank you everyone.